So today we have a great guest in the house. We got James Bruton, or I guess he's not literally in the house, but in the house electronically, who builds all kinds of crazy robots. He's working on a robot dog. He's working on a Strand Beast too, which obviously I'm very interested in. So, James, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Thanks for taking the time out of your schedule. It seems like, man, you come up with so many robotics projects. I just don't understand how you have the time for it. It's pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
really. Out of all the makers, I don't think anybody puts out more content than you do. Or, quality content with actually things they have built, not just like cutting boards.
Yeah, sure. So I guess the main thing is that I committed to do weekly videos about 5 years ago, and pretty much there's been a video on a Tuesday every week since, unless there's been something like I did a collaboration with someone and they had to put the video out on a different day or something. Bigger YouTubers generally get the
Right.
priority. So yeah, I do sort of plan ahead, and having 3D printing and stuff. I have 11 3D printers that really helps making all that content.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So I
And
don't think I'd be able to get all the parts made otherwise. So
yeah, seriously. Now,
That was
now
one of our questions.
I listened to you on I think it was the Amp Hour podcast a while ago, and I believe you said you have a full time job too. Is that the case, or
no,
not
I
a
do
full
YouTube
time,
full
but
time now. So I've had various jobs over the years. I may have had a part time job at the time, but now I
that
am full time on YouTube. So
okay? Well, that's good because it just seemed whenever I heard it, it just seemed insane that because you were like, yeah, I do some development work a couple days a week, and I'm like, wow, that guy's very busy.
but yeah, I mean in the I mentioned that I do a weekly video and have done for years, but I have had full time jobs within that time as well. So yeah.
Well, I'm
Wow.
glad you're able to dedicate yourself to it, and I guess have some time to be on a podcast once in a while too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
It's amazing that you even have the energy to do all this stuff in a day. I could never output so much stuff. Not in a week, not in a month.
All right. Yeah, I mean it's just a constant plan. I have a Trello, the card system, so I have a Trello kind of card for the calendar and like pipeline of things that need working on and what's the secondary thing, and then ideas come in kind of on the other side to be turned into things that are tangible in the end. So yeah, just work it through and then try and start designing the thing that's coming up in 3 weeks. So I can start making the parts, and then the parts are ready for me to make the video. It's kind of a constant sort of production line, I guess, is a good way of looking at it.
Sure. Do you
So,
do all your
so it's not
production?
just your.
Oh, do you do all your
Sorry,
production
Jeremy, go ahead.
yourself?
Sorry, what was that?
Do you do all your production yourself, or do you have some help with that as
Oh
far
no, it's
as
only
video
me, so
production?
I have to make all the video and edit it as well,
Well,
and
good,
all the
Wow.
social
good
media
for you.
posts. Yeah.
And do you think the system with your planning ahead and the Trello cards, does that just help you personally because that's your style, or is that the success to actually the key factor that enables you to put out so many videos?
Yeah, I mean, I think having that plan and knowing what you're going to be doing in 3 weeks is quite useful. Obviously, I have to buy parts and have them arrive as well. So, I mean, there's kind of with YouTubers, there's two kind of trains of thought about what's the best thing to do. And you'll notice a lot of other YouTubers like Ivan Miranda and Tom Stanton are people I've worked with, and they tend to do a project and put it out when it's finished, and then another month later there'll be one video about building the whole thing. The
Hmm.
views are definitely higher, I think, doing it that way, or they might average out depending on how how frequent they put the videos out. But their views run into hundreds of thousands, and mine are generally about 50,000. But I do 4 videos or 5 videos a month, so depends how you look at it. So from a YouTube algorithm point of view, it's kind of difficult to say what the right thing to do is. I think the videos where one thing is finished and it goes out in one go probably has a bigger clout in that you can watch one video and you see the results at the end. But the main reason I've been doing it weekly is because I set my Patreon page up years ago, and I set it up on a per creation basis rather than a monthly basis. And there's no
Hmm.
easy way to switch that without losing a whole bunch of pledges. So I've just carried on basically making weekly content and doing it that way.
Hmm. Yeah, I think
But
there's.
yeah, I don't know what the right strategy is really from a YouTube point of view, or I guess it really suits whoever's lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess
I'm
as
sure.
long as you're doing well with your views, there's no issue with that. I have the same that I do it per creation. I couldn't do it weekly. Like if I have a month without any videos out, I wouldn't want to charge people for it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I guess that was your concern at the beginning.
Yes. Well, with a per creation Patreon, then I just wouldn't earn the money, of course. So
Yeah.
that's the slight difficulty. Unless I start making Patreon exclusive content, and compressing then all of that edited down into one video that goes public or something like that, which is a possibility, but it's something that I haven't really, and that's even more work practically. So
Yeah, I suppose that'd be true. It's I don't know. You say, as far as the algorithm, et cetera. It's I wonder if I almost wonder if anybody knows, and then if they do know, then 2 months from now, a year from now, it might be bad information anyway. So who
yeah,
knows?
sure. So I mean, Mark Rober does very well by putting one video out a month.
Hmm. That's the
So I
guy
think
that learns all the stuff, right? The Irish
um,
guy.
no, Mark Rober, who I worked on him with the bowling ball, and he did the auto dartboard and
Oh,
the
the theft guy.
the
Yeah.
Porch pirate
Yeah,
thing.
the
Yeah, that's
porch
the
pirates.
glitter
Yeah,
bomb. That's the one I mean.
confused
Yeah.
him with the Irish guy that learns all these tricks,
Oh, okay.
skills every month.
Right. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think monthly could work. If I was doing it all from scratch, I'd probably do everything monthly. But that's just the way I haven't done it, and so that's why there's so much content.
Oh yeah. Well, what are you working on right now?
So
If
right
you could tell
now,
us.
so on Tuesday, the OpenDog version 2 mechanical construction video goes out, which is building the whole of the new robot dog. But
Wow.
I'm actually working on the next video, which is putting the electronics in, which is what I'm actually working on now. But I've already done another video for the week after, which is another robot that balances on a ball, which is revisiting one of my first Arduino projects I ever made.
Phew.
Wow.
Man.
So you're so far ahead already, and you're also diverting into different topics.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is
But
that
patrons get the
just
videos a week early, so they'll get the ball balancing robot on Monday or Tuesday, and that'll go out the following Tuesday.
and the ball balancing robot? Is that a personal interest of you that you say, "Oh, I want to revisit this," or how did
Yeah,
you
so
decide to go from the robot dog
so one of
to the
the
ball?
so Robot Dog is going out every 2 weeks purely because I need extra time to work on it and think about what I'm doing. Now we've got to control and electronics and software. And obviously, printing all the parts happened in the background anyway to make the whole thing in one video. So I can't necessarily do the work quick enough to publish that every week anyway. And the ball balancing robot was something when Star Wars Episode 7 came out, and I built my first version of
Ah.
BB-8. I tried to make the head balance on the ball, but it was one of my first Arduino projects. And I know a lot more now about making dynamic balancing robots than I did then, so I thought I'd revisit it. So it isn't another BB-8, there's another theme, but it's significantly better with brushless motors and O drives and faster microcontroller and a better inertial measurement unit and wheel encoders and all the things you're supposed to have.
Wow.
Well,
That's a lot
that
of
sounds.
wiring to do.
Yeah, so that's a two-part. That'll be the first one is printing it all, and the second one is putting electronics in and making it work. Hopefully.
And do you get any helpers that help you with the code or the printing?
No, it's just me pretty much. Unless there's a visible
Wow.
collaboration, like I'm doing a video with Colin Furze or someone, then it's just me.
Well, good.
I wonder
Good
how
for
the
you.
phone calls are with Colin first.
I'm sorry, what was that?
If it's like, I wonder if the phone calls with Colin first are like talking to "Look, Mom, no computer," because they
Yeah.
both
Well,
seem very distracted.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of that, you
yeah,
did a collaboration with Look Mum No Computer, right? Was that how was that? Must
yeah,
have been a lot
Sam.
of
I know
fun.
him pretty well, so yeah, we did the fire-breathing robot thing. That was one of the first times I'd met him, though. Yeah, so that was quite good. We just didn't really know what we were going to do exactly. We had a fair idea there was going to be fire involved, and we just I just went down to his place and took one of my robots, and then we patched it into his modular synth, so its joints moved. I think we had joints moving on different beats or something from a sequencer, and then we had one arm moved in relation to musical pitch from my guitar. And then we did a song that I'd written, and then everything caught fire, and that's the end.
Yeah, I think that was how'd that go? Robots, I love robots, right? Was that I think you love
Yeah, that's
robots
it. That
too?
was my short song that I wrote just for that occasion.
I was impressed. You're a pretty good guitarist too, it appears, or at least
Yeah, I've been playing
competent.
since I was 16, so yeah, it does help. I don't play a lot now, but I know basic blues scales, so can jam to anything.
Nice. Well, yeah, it was a lot of fun to see, and fire, of course. Everybody likes
Yeah.
that.
And of course, I don't just do robotics projects. I've actually got so I've got the performance robots, which are these 2 7-foot tall robot torsos on sticks, which I use for events and things like that. And those are synced up with DMX software, which is lighting desk software, and that takes a feed from MIDI and other things and OSC, which are used for music. So I have those, and I have a big accessible interfaces basically that kids can mash big buttons and floor pads, and the robots do robotic motion sequences. And there's obviously lighting that's DMX lighting anyway, and also some various music sequences that are played from Ableton Live. And then I've got things like the barcode scanner guitar that I built, which is a guitar that's just got barcodes and a handheld barcode scanner instead of strings. So I take that to events, and that can be used to play notes, or it can be used as like a MIDI control surface to control any of that.
Nice.
So yeah,
Do you do
music's
a lot
kind
of
of another
events?
thing, and the performance is another thing that I quite like.
Do you do a lot of events, or I mean, I know you
Well,
mentioned
not at the
that.
moment, but I did have one planned every month for pretty much this summer until lockdown happens, and all of them are now cancelled pretty much,
Yeah, I guess
unfortunately.
that's a
But yeah,
good
I did a
point.
couple earlier this year. So I did the V&A Museum in Dundee in Scotland. So it was an 11-hour drive to get up there with a van of robots. And yeah, I did a STEM education talk in the morning and a 4-hour interactive robot show controlled by you in the afternoon.
And was that something that you wanted to get into performances? So you tried to reach out to venues, or did that happen naturally?
It kind of happened. Well, so I get asked to go to events anyway, but normally I don't have anything to take, because normally I strip down projects and I've got bits of broken stuff or things that didn't work properly. Everyone wants Open Dog, but that doesn't walk the original one anyway, and it weighs 50 kilograms, which is about 100 pounds, so it's really heavy. So it's really hard to actually think of something to take to demonstrate. So I thought I'd build robots that were reliable and transportable and remain in one piece. And that's why I made performance robots, so I had something to take to events. And the plan was to flesh that out. So I've got these puppeteering rigs that are like little versions where you can hold the arms and move them, and it moves the big version. So there's a video I did with Matt Denton, the Mantis robot guy, where we did a puppeteering challenge, because I've got 2 of these robots and 2 puppeteering rigs. And the robots have got grippy hands now and rotating wrists. So you have to pick up balls and drop them into a box remotely using these puppeteering rigs. So that was going to be another offering for events, to sort of do an hourly robot challenge with perhaps other speakers at an event or other YouTubers and that sort of thing. And also do collaborations by using those robots to potentially do, remotely operated, I don't know, perhaps with a cooking channel, to have a robot kitchen assistant or something like that. So, but yeah, I did actually did a talk at Dundee University, and someone there spotted me, and then they asked me to go to the V&A to do this. They had actually had a robotic exhibition on, so they asked me to go there on the closing weekend. What else did we have? Yeah, so there's other events. There's a thing to do with a naval base that's quite near where I live, which have a big open day. So they had the gravity jet suit guys are supposed to be there, but that's already been postponed, and we don't know if it's going ahead. And various other science festivals that have all just basically got cancelled.
Yeah, I guess that
But anyway,
this is a good time to have 2 separate businesses,
yeah, I mean
revenue streams.
there was sort of one event a month, so they were paid appearances, but it was pretty minimal compared to the rest of YouTube. But you never know. Anyway, there's always next year.
Yep, always next year. That's a
Yeah,
good thing to say these
you
days, I
should
guess.
write it on a T-shirt.
Yeah, and so my plan was because we don't know what's going to happen with events and obviously social distancing, and I've got these things that are basically panels of big pinball machine buttons, and obviously keeping those sanitized is going to be quite hard with lots of filthy kids coming and mashing the buttons. So I've already got a facial recognition thing where you move your face in a webcam and then the robot heads copy your motions. So I've been playing with the Nvidia Jetson Nano, which is a little supercomputer, a bit like a Raspberry Pi 4, slightly different spec, but it basically Nvidia have published lots of deep learning models that will recognize something like 1,000 objects pretty accurately. So the plan is to have more vision recognition built into the performance robots interactive stuff, so people can wave objects or themselves in front of cameras instead of actually physically touching anything. So depending on what happens with events and whether everyone's got to stand 6 feet apart and, you know, can't touch stuff, that's a kind of easy route to bringing that up and it being clean, I guess. But we'll see what happens.
That's a really high-tech solution. At first, I thought you were going forward to like a Purell sprayer that automatically sprays down the buttons after somebody used it.
No, I think that's going to cause more problems than in the practicality of trying to implement it and make it work properly. But
I guess you could have like a UV box over the buttons that just
people
zaps
get
it every.
sunburnt.
Yeah, my girlfriend
that's
says
true.
UV light is not good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not good
there's
for
all
the
sorts of
viruses, right?
it's-
So
It's it's like the complicator's bicycle. There's an article about this bicycle, which was a bicycle you sit on sideways and ride sideways, but obviously if you fall over backwards, you can't stop yourself. So then they put like little stilts that flip out when it falls backwards so that you don't fall over, and so on and so on. It's like, why is anyone doing this? A bicycle's already the perfect design. You know, stop making up a problem that doesn't exist and then trying to fix more problems that occur.
it's a good point.
I had one of those ideas. I always thought, if you crash your car into a brick wall, surely it must be safer if you face the other way around.
Right.
If you're facing the rear of the car.
Possibly.
So the driver, you would project all the surroundings onto the rear window, and the driver would think he's going in the other direction.
Okay.
And how
does rear view work?
Well, you've got cameras, and you're not looking through the window. You're looking at the screens of the cameras, basically.
But do they actually just look out the back of the car for the rear view, or do they look into a camera looking out in the same direction?
That's true. You just have to have a little space. It's just a hole.
But does that need to be mirrored though, or would it be weird it being the right way around? Anyway.
So have you had any interest in this from Bosch or BMW or anything?
No, not yet. But I might keep working on it. There's always another year, next year.
You should build a prototype that's a go-kart to see how easy it is to drive.
That would be fun, yeah. But I would probably get stuck at building the go-kart and do that for 1 or 2 years.
Right.
Yeah, Max has been working on a hydrofoil for, I don't know, for 10 years or so. Is that right?
It's 2 years now. Yeah, electric hydrofoil, but it's just my regular work. I've got so much to do right now. I will finish it. It's a long-term project, but it's something I think that you would put out in a few weeks.
Yeah,
I've got a
people
3D
have
printed
offered
snowboard that I haven't put out yet because we can go snowboarding because of lockdown. So that'll pop up at some point, but that's already packed up and ready to go in my luggage.
That's really cool. I was wondering, your printers, what kind of nozzle size do you use?
So mostly 0.5 mil, and then I've got so they're all Lulzbot printers. So I've also got the Lulzbot Moore extruders, which are 1.2 millimeter.
Oh,
so
wow.
when it comes to really big parts, I tend to use that, or if I want to make something super quickly.
That makes sense, because normal printers are 0.4, I think.
Yeah,
and I'm wondering
I think
if
Prusa's
I should
0.4.
change the nozzle.
Lulzbot shit with a 0.5. The parts come out much stronger with a thicker nozzle, but they're also tend to be heavier marginally. So for the new Open Dog, I used the 0.5s. But having so many printers printing in parallel helps quite a lot with getting something like that made in 1 week.
Do you know how much kilograms of filament you use in a month?
It really depends. In this particular build that is I think it's probably printing for more than a week. It's probably over the 2 weeks because I had some other project going on, but I had to print that as well, which was it the Strand Beast? I think it might have been the last part of that, or I might have been printing the first part of the balancing robot. They kind of overlap. Let me think. So there's about probably something like 8 kilograms in that build, maybe. So I don't know really what it is on a monthly basis. It really depends what big projects I build. I mean, there was, I did the tallest 3D printed sculpture of a human in the world, which is a Guinness World Record, and that was 50 kilograms. And I did that in about 2 months.
Well,
Wow.
and how high
do you
is this?
try to max out the build platform, or do you print one by one in case something goes wrong?
No, I tend to do one. Well, unless they're very small parts, but otherwise the parts are pretty big that I print anyway. So normally they only fit one on the platform at a time. The lol spots are a foot square bed, so there's some of the parts I kind of push the size of that bed anyway. So.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about your Strand Beast. What was the inspiration for making one?
So I've built several walking robots in the past, and some of them were bipedal. I built a Star Wars gonk droid that can walk along, and there's probably about 10 walking robots. There's a video on my channel entitled My Walking Robotic History, and it's about walking robots I tried to build that walked on 2 legs since 2004 with various degrees of success. And basically jumping from one leg to the other and staying stable is pretty okay. It's pretty easy to do. But the thing that I never really got properly with 2 legs was walking forwards. They kind of hobble along and they take very small steps, but actually dynamically catching themselves as they fall wasn't really a thing that I solved. However, I've done lots of 2-wheel balancing robots, which have this sort of principle that their wheels roll forward, so it catches the mass as it falls forwards or backwards. So it's just a PID controller in the IMU, and it's dynamically catching itself to keep the wheels under the center of gravity. So I thought it was probably finally time to test whether I could make a walking robot that worked in exactly the same way as a 2-wheel balancing robot. So without wanting to build lots of complicated, knee and hip and ankles with feet that tip sideways and doing all the inverse kinematics and having lots and lots of motors, I decided to use the Strand Beast mechanism. So essentially, it's a single row of Strand Beast legs, and then it balances like a 2-wheel balancing robot. So it runs along faster to catch itself as it falls.
I thought that was really ingenious. I mean, yeah, I've built several Strand Beasts myself, and I thought that was really ingenious the way you did that. I'd never even considered just making them all in one row like that. But at the end of that video, I thought what was interesting is you're using a PID algorithm, which normally, I don't know how to summarize it, but basically, one input to the wheel is one input to the ground, whereas with the Strand Beast, an input to the wheel, you never know where you're at on that leg without some real heavy math. It's almost like you need some sort of, I guess, transfer function to, obviously you've thought about this too.
Yeah, there were some issues because obviously the balancing point changes as one leg picks up and the other one comes down. One picks up at the back and another one comes down on the ground at the front. So I think I probably maybe could have tuned it to work with the 4 legs I had, but I ended up adding another 4 legs so that it was more consistent. So it's more like a wheel essentially, with 8 legs
Right.
all in a row.
That makes sense. The more you have, it becomes smoother.
Yeah, and it was quite lumpy when the feet were smashing into the ground with only 4 legs. But I think that perhaps that's why we need compliance in robotics when they get quite big.
So is that project
lumpiness
done, or you think there's more to be developed?
So the plan was to have differential drive so I could steer it, but because of lockdown, I can't go and test it anywhere. So at the moment, it's still in one piece. And I might come back and I might take it to a warehouse. There's a company nearby called Cool Components who supply lots of components to me. I tested my Sonic the Hedgehog 2-wheel balancing robot in their warehouse. So I might, after lockdown, I might go back and give it another spin and see if I can get it to steer and how far it will go around. So it's pretty limited for space. The other project I want to do with Strand Beasts is one with compliant legs. So the bottom triangle of the Strand Beast mechanism will be hopefully a back drivable brushless motor mechanism. excuse me, which will
So
comply with the ground as the legs hit the ground.
I thought you could make the mechanism as one piece that bends with live hinges.
You could
I
possibly
thought
could
that
like really like to
what
be
you mean with.
I'd like to be able to control it by having a back drivable brushless motor like quasi-direct drive, and then essentially looking at the demand position you send the motor to, and then looking at where it actually is and working out what the difference is, and that tells you the force that's being applied, and then driving it partway to the kind of demand position with another PID controller to make it more or less compliant, which is essentially what I'm doing with robot dogs. So having kind of an active suspension system in each of those legs. I'm not quite sure what it looks like yet. I think it might look like a robot dog with 8 legs, with two strand beast legs in each corner, and each one can lift up and down independently of the strand beast mechanism, and it's compliant. But that's another project.
That
Wow.
would be cool. Then you could walk over like moon craters.
Yeah, so that'd be the idea. It'd be multi-terrain, and it could take really big steps by lifting its active foot up to step over things.
Oh, that's a good point because it's
And then we
really
could,
as much as they look like all-terrain vehicles, they're really terrible off of
yeah.
those surfaces. But as you're saying, if you could control each leg independently, then you know, then
Yeah, and then
things
obviously
get a lot cooler.
we can make it compliant. We can put an inertial measurement unit in it and keep it level, and put foot switches in so they comply or whatever with the ground as they go. So the top stays level and the feet will walk on over lumps and bumps and things like that.
And
Nice.
how would you scan the ground?
So you'd have the compliance anyway. Well, so one of the things I did with test robot dogs was have the inertial measurement unit in the body of the dog. And then if it starts to tip over, then you basically make the feet in the direction it's tipping more compliant so that they're softer, or the other way around, whichever way, to level it out. So you could have the leg where it hits the ground. You'd be able to work out how much force was being applied because the motor would get less to the position you wanted it to go to. And you could work out that the robot was tipping, so you could make that foot more compliant. Or you could just put foot switches in that when they hit the ground, they stop at that position. But once
Nice.
everything's active and you can control compliance and you can control the position of the legs, then you can pretty much do anything.
Wow. So talking about compliance and stuff, how long have you been working on the big robot dog project? I know that's been a kind of an ongoing theme, right?
Yeah, since about 2018, I think, late 2018, the first one. So
Okay.
I built these, two-legged walking robots that were almost human-sized. That works kind of okay. So I thought 4 legs has got to be easy. And I built an Exo Suit around that time, which was a machine that walked when I walked that I could get inside. It was obviously easier to walk without it, but it worked nonetheless. It had kind of sprung levers that you pulled up and down with your feet that had Hall effect sensors in, and that would control the motor positions. And that was all driven by ball screws and brushless motors. So I knew they were pretty strong. And I thought, I've done 2-legged walking robots. I can easily make one that walks on 4 legs. So I made this Open Dog 1 that was all CNC aluminium and stuff. There's a lot of metal in it. It's very heavy, about 50 kilograms, 100 pounds. It's got aluminium extrusion in it, and it's got 12 ball screws, 1605s, which is, what's that, thicker than an inch. Oh no, sorry, 3/4,
60
I don't know.
millimeters.
Yeah, 16 millimeters.
Yeah,
And
3/4.
and 12 brushless motors, and it weighs a lot. And the thing I didn't take into account, of course, was the walking robots had big feet with ankles that made it rather easier. And the dog doesn't, it has just points that it walks on. And I spent pretty much most of that time trying to make it stable. And it's very hard indeed. And it's so heavy you can't pick it up. So I had to buy an engine hoist to hold it and move it around. And it's become sort of an ongoing thing. I think there's about 20 videos on YouTube, but it still doesn't really walk very well. So then I started, branching out and doing more R&D. So I've built at least 4 other test dogs since then. There were 2 which had back drivable brushless motors that work quite well, which was what I was just talking about. So essentially using that encoder on the gearbox as the actual sensor to work out what the force is being applied to the leg, and then using an inertial measurement unit to work out how level the dog is and changing the compliance to keep it stable. But they only had one motor in each leg to test compliance with the ground, so they could walk on the spot, but they couldn't go anywhere. And then I went on to Mini Dog, which was entirely 3D printed using RC servos, but geared down 2-to-1, so quite a big, sort of about a foot long robot dog. And I did 2 versions of that quite recently, and then I managed to get dynamic walking working, so walking dynamically on 2 legs at a time, taking 2 legs off the ground and leaving diagonal legs on the ground. So I managed to get that to work, but I didn't have much agility because they were really cheap RC servos and they were geared down. So now I'm on to OpenDog version 2, which is back to 12 brushless motors, and I'm using really big, sort of 90mm diameter drone motors, those pancake motors, with a really low reduction, so that they're back drivable and I can make them compliant. And this one's mostly 3D printed with carbon fiber tubes and all sorts, so it only weighs about 15 kilograms. So it should be significantly faster, and hopefully has enough power to basically move the legs to where they need to be when I want them to be there.
Well, that's probably good though, because I feel like, so many times you watch a video and you're like, well, I had this idea and then yada, yada, yada. I was on CAD for 5 minutes of 3D printing. And here it is, my, walking humanoid robot that talks to you and whatever. When in reality, it's, taking all kinds of work. So I don't know. I think that's good sometimes that people can see what's really going on behind the scenes, and that, engineering is not usually easy.
No, and I mean,
No.
I'm kind of quite happy I've gone through the whole journey and shown all of that on video as well. So now, in the first part of OpenDog version 2, I had this whole recap of, I did this and I did basically what I just said, but it's about 20 minutes long with all the bits of test video and drawing the conclusion about what I should do now. So it's quite satisfying to have gone through that whole journey and not just, copied MIT Cheetah or something like that.
It's funny when you go back to it. It's you go back 2 years, and if you've been improving, you think, wow, that was really, I really shouldn't have done things that way. You just, I guess as you keep learning, you just realize how bad your tech. Well, I don't know when you say bad techniques, just you do things as well as you can, and then I guess if a
If it's not
project goes
working,
long
it's
enough,
not working.
Yeah, and to
Doesn't mean
some
you did a
extent,
bad job.
yeah, I
It's
mean,
just not working right.
the first OpenDog I'd planned as far as could I make a kinematic model work, or the inverse kinematic model. So could I put those feet in X, Y, Z Cartesian coordinates and work back the geometry to move all of the, the 3 leg joints or the leg motors and ball screws to the right length. And that's as far as I thought it through. And I thought after that'd be easy, right? Because then I can just position the joints and I'll be able to just, make it walk. Which is all I'd really done with the other walking robots. Had inertial measurement units in them, and I kind of just fudged numbers until they worked. But yeah,
Nice.
this is needs a lot more dynamic control and a lot more agility to achieve it. At least walking with 2 legs off the ground. Walking with 3 on the ground at a time is not so hard. But the first OpenDog is so heavy, though, that it's a very, very slow, statically stable kind of thing that oscillates when it stops moving and so on. So yeah, it's definitely better ways to engineer it for walking, whichever way you do it.
Yeah, I'm not
So,
talking about you, by the way, James. I'm just saying generally speaking, it seems like myself or anybody really. It's just funny to go back and watch.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time with builders over the past year. Carpenters, construction people,
Okay.
and
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
if you ask them for advice, they know exactly how to do stuff. Like if you ask them, so how do I lay down these tiles? They can tell you exactly how to do it, and it will be perfect. That just doesn't happen in engineering. There's always you come up with an idea, you have to test. You never know if this is going to work out or not.
Yeah. So I guess there's sort of safe bets, and then there's the R&D. So a lot of the other projects that I build are basically I kind of use what I say are building blocks that are things I'm really comfortable with using. So the O drive, for instance, for controlling brushless motors, I pretty much know inside out. So I know if I've got to use a brushless motor, I'm going to control it with an O drive because I know I can make that work. And so the performance robots I mentioned, in fact, I pretty much copied and pasted the CAD from OpenDog. So the ball screws and all the motor placements, all the pulley sizes are identical, all the ball screws are the same, the belts are the same size. So I pretty much copied and pasted those things I'd already designed and put them in another position. And then that was how I designed performance robots, because I already knew the O drive would work, how fast it would move, and so on. And I could just order all the same parts again, and then it would all fit together. So generally, I kind of don't do a project where everything is new in one go. It's normally I'll try one new thing I haven't done before, and then
Sure.
I'll use everything else as something I know really well.
Well, I see your latest project. You're using a LiDAR system. Have you tried that before? Or is that a totally
No,
new?
that was the first time, but I did play with it for about a month before deciding what to do with it.
What do you think about the LiDAR system? Was that something you'll use in the future? Or is that something you might just set aside?
Yeah, so I really want to look at ROS, which is the robot operating system, which already has modules that do simultaneous location and mapping and path planning and all of that stuff, which is open source. It's just there's quite a high barrier to entry, and I really need to sit down and do an online course or something. And then basically
Sure.
I'd be able to use a LiDAR to have a robot that goes around and maps the room. And then, you can send it from A to B and it plans a path, and all that code is already written by someone else. So I think that's the next level of where I need to be, really. But yeah, that would
Well,
use a LiDAR, or it would use one of the Intel RealSense. I think they're called depth
okay.
cameras or something else, like a Microsoft Kinect or something that can scan the room. But yeah, that
Well, it
LiDAR was
seems like you have
£100.
plenty of
So
time for that.
sorry.
It seems like you have plenty of time to do that kind of
Well,
thing. So
what I probably
know.
have to do is probably several weeks of learning. So I probably have to make a vlog about what I'd learned. That's what I'm planning to do, I think. But yeah, that LiDAR was £100, which is a pretty cheap one. But it's all right for £100. And then the company make various more expensive ones with faster, better data. So that's something we'd have to see how it goes, or whatever the sensor is.
Yeah, that does seem pretty cheap for a LiDAR unit. I mean, it can
Yeah, it's
be
pretty good for the money.
tens of thousands of dollars sometimes, I think. Although, not that I've ever really priced them, but
No, they do some that are about sort of 500 or 600 or 1,000, but yeah, this is the very entry level one.
Tesla couldn't afford them, so.
Well, he likes radar and visual systems, so I guess that's. Well, yeah, he's the one person that doesn't like LiDAR. It seems like, for whatever reason.
Well, it's not full auto driving, is it yet? So
That's
No.
true.
But he says there will be 1 million robot taxis driving around the country in 2020. So
it's
got
quite
a few months
possible.
left to achieve that.
Yeah. Well,
That's a good. I mean, I think that's pretty smart though, because in 2020 there's not a lot of cars in the road, so should be a lot easier to navigate. He's just taking advantage of
less cars on the road. But I heard there's a huge surge of people buying bicycles.
yes, apparently so.
My wife wanted to buy a bicycle, but we haven't found one for her yet. So I guess.
Is that because there aren't any bicycles to buy, or you haven't found one you like?
Well, long story here, but basically, I found one at Costco that I wanted. I was like, do you want me to get this? And you're like, we talked about it. And then anyway, it was a whole big deal, because the next time I went there, they were just out of them, because apparently toilet paper and bicycles are flying off the shelves these days.
I don't even get it. Why do people want bicycles now? Is it because they have more free time? That they want to go for bike rides? Because
I go for I have a bike. I go for bike rides more now than I did before, because the gyms. I was going to say the gym's closed, but it's open now. But I'm not going there for a while. And you go on the trail, you get a little exercise in. I don't know.
Yeah, the gym still makes sense.
Maybe James knows. Do you have any insight into this?
What about bicycles? Well, so the UK's got this whole environmental initiative, and they've also got this thing about, the whole coronavirus thing is a good opportunity to get people to be active and stuff. It's a good opportunity for cycling. So there's some money, $1 million or something, that's going to be about putting cycle lanes in. And then they're talking about e-scooters, which are currently illegal. Anything like a hoverboard or a Segway or an electric scooter is illegal to ride on the public highway. Electric skateboards, all of that, and that includes the road and the pavement. But however, there's some cities
in
they're
Germany.
actually, so there's several cities they're actually trialing making it okay once there's proper cycle lanes. So that's quite good. We have electric bikes, but it has to be pedal assist and maximum 250 watts, I think is the rules at the moment. But they're basically
I,
saying they'll allow electric scooters. So, and it'll be the time to revolutionize transport and everything.
I think they're illegal on the sidewalks here and maybe even the road as far as like bikes. But so I'm riding my bike the other day and I pull up to the stop sign or stoplight and then I see this other bike and I just hear this ba 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 ba. And I look over and I realize he's got a tiny gasoline engine hooked up to his
Oh, right.
bicycle. And I was like, I can't. But I think people pretty much look the other way because it's kind of hard to tell whether it's a real bike or a e-bike or
In Germany,
gasoline bike.
you're really screwed if they catch you. Like if the
Yeah.
police sees you, and scooters are allowed now, but they also have limitations. You need a little license plate for them.
Oh, right.
But otherwise, if you get caught with that, you're in real big trouble. You lose your license and all kind of that. It's like driving without a driving license, basically. So
Is that do you lose
I
it
wouldn't have risked
forever
it
or
before. No,
is,
but over here they're really strict with the stuff. Like if your license is gone, basically, even for a month, they put so many hurdles in your way to regain that license, and they have this stuff like if you get caught too often driving too fast, you have to get like a mental evaluation, and they treat you like you're completely nuts.
oh well,
Wow.
I guess
Which
literally. So
which
what do you mean?
well,
This is very interesting, Max. So you have to go to a psychiatrist, or how does
yeah.
that work?
Basically, well, let's say you can drive up with alcohol up to 0.5 per 1,000th of your volume of. I know you've got different measurement value in the UK and in America. Basically, you can drink one or maybe two beer and you can still drive.
Hmm.
If they catch you and you maybe had a third beer, or if you're a lightweight person, like a woman, or you're just short, and you've got, well, one beer might have been enough, basically. So then you've driven under the influence, and to regain that, you have to go to psychologists, basically, and to get out of that situation, you can't just say, "Well, I just had one beer too many," You basically have to tell them, I had a really bad problem in life at that moment. I just got divorced. I got fired, but I had the wrong ways. I was an alcoholic, but now I changed my ways. I learned new ways to cope with my alcohol problem.
Yeah,
It's
I had
really,
heard that there
really
was a.
degrading and bad and over the top.
So how do you know? Do you have experience with this, Max? Is that
No. I was so scared of this stuff. I saw it on TV and I thought, I never want to be in that stupid position, because you had one beer too many. And really, with one beer, I don't know if that's legal in the UK and so on, but you can drive. It's okay to have dinner and drink one beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's
But
a blood
just
alcohol
a little
limit
bit over
here.
the limit, and they treat you like you completely endangered the public. So I never drink and drive just for that reason. I don't want to get any trouble.
Yeah, no, it's
And
good.
yeah, in general, I just try to keep my license as clean as possible, which I succeeded so far.
I had heard that somebody had told me that in Germany, if they take your license away for drunk driving, it was just gone forever. But I guess that's not. I guess that's not quite true. But
Yeah,
apparently
no,
pretty
you
close.
can get it back, but you're really in a world of pain, and yeah,
Well, I guess
not a good situation.
So I guess that's why we need auto-driving cars, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess once that happens and then you wonder about these people with a suspended license, then there's a whole nother moral and legal hurdles you have to drive through. I mean, if my Tesla hits your Mercedes and neither of us are driving, then who exactly gets sued? I mean, I don't know.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's probably
Well,
something the
hopefully.
insurance industry have to deal with.
Yeah, and I
So,
guess if they're safe enough, then the insurance industry won't mind.
well, it depends if that happens less than it does when humans are driving.
Yeah, which I don't see at the moment. I don't see that trend that they're becoming safer.
Do you not think?
Or close to safe enough. Obviously, they're making improvements. But if I'm looking at these Teslas, like last week, there was a car in Taiwan. He was traveling on a motorway with I think a Model Y, which is the latest Tesla model, and he was on autopilot. And the driver was not attentive. God knows what he was doing, but there was an overturned truck, a
I
giant
saw
truck
that.
on the
Yeah.
road. Yeah, and he just crashed into them. How can the car? My car is not a smart car, and it would notice that there's something in the way and brake.
Right. But what
So
about
it's
a Google
smart.
auto-driving car?
Who knows? We haven't seen anything from Google yet, have we?
I thought they were
They're
driving them
very
around
secretive.
California or something.
Yeah, they're driving them around, but no, no update or what's going on at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
coming eventually. Whether it'll be, you know, it'll be a long time still, but
I think
eventually it'll happen. I
Mercedes is
think.
on the right track. They're slowly iterating their software, and every 6 years when a new model comes out, they have some new features that are more and more autonomous. Like the current new cars from Mercedes, they can do the same stuff as the autopilot almost. They do lane changes, they do overtaking for you, on and off ramps, braking, steering, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, but let's buy some bicycles.
You should try
Just
and
need
make
to.
an auto-driving bicycle or an
Yeah, that'd be a
autopilot
good project
bicycle.
for you.
Yeah. Tom Stratton is his name? Stanton? He
Stanton?
did this. Stanton, yeah. He did the ABS system
Yeah,
for a
that's it.
bike, which I thought was really cool.
And he also did the wheelie assist or the wheelie cheat device,
Yeah, I'm too old for
which
that.
pulled the back brake on to stop you tipping over, but you can do a wheelie just by pedaling really hard.
Yeah.
You
He's
know,
just about at the right age where he can still pull the stuff off.
Yeah.
believe it or not, I've done a wheelie and fallen back before, and I flipped over my handlebars several times. So that'd probably be
Intentionally
good
or
for me. Oh no, not intentionally. The worst
He's the
worst
Florida
one.
man.
No, well, this was in South Carolina, but the worst one, right? So I'm riding, a mountain biking with one of my friends, and we're talking, and I had just gotten some new disc brakes, a new disc brake for my front tires, and he says, "Oh, do those work pretty well?" I'm like, "Yeah, pretty well. Check this out." Hit the brakes and flipped over the handlebars, and that was. I was okay though, because apparently I've done it enough that I know what I'm doing. Although now it's been several years and I'm a little older, so maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. I don't know. So, but yes, I am. I am from Florida, so for what that's worth.
When Jeremy rides his bike, he rides it to Dunkin Donuts.
All
Yeah,
right.
we got a Dunkin Donuts right near here. So actually, we talked to last guest we had. He said he hadn't been to Dunkin Donuts before, which I think was. I guess they have those in the UK, right, James? Or is that
I don't know
not
if we
even a
do.
thing?
We have Krispy Kreme, but I don't know if we have Dunkin Donuts.
Yeah, personally, I prefer Dunkin' Donuts, but some people love Krispy Kreme. I don't actually go to either one that much because I'm
I don't think I've ever
gotta
been
watch
to
my
either.
weight.
But yeah.
Oh, they're both good.
They're don't let Max oversell them. I mean, I try to go into things with very low expectations, and then if it's good, then you're happy,
You
and
can't oversell donuts.
that's a good
They're
point.
pure sugar and fat. They're the perfect sweet.
So what is the donut store in the UK? What's your
There's
place,
Krispy
James?
Kreme, but that's not really a UK one. I don't think we really have a culture of donuts that much.
You don't even have bakeries.
We have Spudge you like, but that's potatoes. Which I imagine is the same, but it's a potato and you can choose the filling. Is that like Dunkin' Donuts?
I mean, it's food, so I guess in that sense it's
Yeah.
similar. Well, yeah, James, if we had all of this on our agenda laid out, just so as far as
Yeah,
way this
it's very well planned out. That's why we go to our next section, which is what have you been working on today or this week? Jeremy, why did you go ahead?
So yeah, what have I been working on? I've always got 10 projects, and unlike James, I don't plan them quite as well. But even though I have all these projects going on, I had a new idea. Uh, Basically, I've got this fountain that I think I was telling you about last week, Max, and it's got
Hmm.
a timer on it that's just really pretty shoddy, and it's one of those electrical timers that you plug in. It's kind of electromechanical, and it's just always not working well. So I've got these what is it? The Anyway, I've got these things that they've got the ESP8266 boards in, and they're a relay board, like a smart relay. So what I'm
So
thinking
it's
is
an
I'm gonna
Arduino with Wi-Fi, right?
Arduino with Wi-Fi, basically. So I'm thinking I'm gonna actually hook this up to an extension cord, and then put a giant piece of heat shrink I ordered on the outside and seal it up with zip ties, and yeah, see how it works. So that's
Or you could just buy a smart socket.
I could I could, but it's far be it from me to make
Sorry.
anything far be it from me to make anything that makes sense or is easy. So, but yeah, I'm also. Oh, I guess I should say this too. I got the new Raspberry Pi high quality camera. I've been working on that for as like
Oh,
a
nice.
part of my job. So that's been really fun. It's I gotta say it's spectacular, and I even got it to adapt my old Canon lenses to it, which is kind of or a Canon lens I have to it. So yeah, it should be
And so,
a.
how good is that camera? Is it like a phone camera,
It's
quality-wise?
I mean, it's hard to say. I'd say it's a giant leap from the version 2 camera if you've ever seen that. I would say it's not as good as the my DS or my mirrorless that I have that I use for normally, but it's pretty good. I mean, I guess the cool thing about the Raspberry Pi cameras in general is just you have so much control over it. You can put in different options on the command line and stuff. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you want to do any sort of good photography with the Pi, I think it's a really excellent choice.
So I
So
guess I think it's pretty cheap as well, though, isn't it? I think it fits on a Jetson Nano as well. I think it's got the same socket for that style of that ribbon cable, whatever that interface is called.
well, yeah, you're right. You're right about that. I don't know what it's called, but yeah, the ribbon cable. I was reading something though that they don't quite have the drivers yet for the Jetson Nano,
Oh,
but
really?
that's probably coming.
No, I think
Well,
it
you,
will.
you know
Or
how
at least
these.
the Raspberry Pi 2 camera works.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I may have it out by now. I'm sure. I'm sure if they don't, I'm sure they're working on it as we
I've definitely
speak.
seen a video tutorial with the Nano from Nvidia that's got a Raspberry Pi camera of some sort plugged into it anyway.
Nice. But yeah, James, if you're I would definitely recommend those if you're for vision system applications and stuff. The new high quality camera.
Okay.
So, but now what about you, James? What are you working on these days?
Well, so ongoing OpenDog version 2. As I say, the mechanical build comes up on YouTube on Tuesday. I don't know when this podcast is going out actually, but it might have already happened. But the Tuesday the 9th in my YouTube channel, and electronics going in 2 weeks later on the 23rd. And then I'm
Right.
back to making the ball balancing robot balance. And then I don't know exactly. I think I might do something about Jetson Nanos, and I might look at ROS, or
Nice.
I might do
And
another
just
Strand Beast.
just so everybody's I guess on the same page, we're recording this on June 5th, 2020. I guess we should start saying that before episodes
Yes.
for posterity or what have you.
I'll upload this tonight. I think. I think I can do it.
Okay.
Okay. Well, whatever happens, it is the beginning of June. So, what what about you, Max? What are you working on these days?
Well, for YouTube, for my social media side of my business, I didn't do much basically. I had so many orders. I make these draw slides for caravans, and the caravan business has been going like crazy these weeks. I never sold as much as like this month basically. Just today I got a huge order, so I'm in a workshop all day basically doing that kind of stuff. And to make my work a little bit easier, I assemble all the stuff. I made some trays, some like bowls for nuts and bolts, and they have the shape of nuts and bolts. So I thought, whenever I need to grab like a 12 millimeter long screw, I should have a little container that just looks like the 12 millimeter long screw, so I can grab the right one. And that's what I've been making. And I also made some donut-shaped bowls for washers. So I'll probably post some pictures on the Instagram. I'm not making a video out of these, but
Wait, a
if somebody
donut-shaped
wants
bolt?
a bowl,
Oh, a bowl.
like a
Right.
container.
bowl.
Yeah,
Oh, I see. Yeah, a washer-shaped bowl.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Right.
but they actually, yeah, they look very
Nice.
fun, and I love that 3D printer for that. I spent making this bowl. It takes me 10 minutes on a computer, and it's fun. The printer goes all night, and then I have these bowls the next day. So
Yep,
yeah,
it's
I think it's an
pretty
investment.
nice.
Long run, it will help me assemble stuff quicker.
Nice, very cool. Well, before we forget, we should probably give our Patreons a shout out, right, Max?
Oh, good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, so our top 5 Patreons or 5 Patreons are Brian Moses, Old School DIY, Pat Regan, Positive Waves, and Stephen Booker. Thanks so much for your support, and we really appreciate it, and appreciate you guys listening too, of course. So
Yeah. Thank you very much.
yeah. Well, anything else you want to plug, or I guess where can we find you, James, if we're looking
So
for
you can find
awesome
me
robots?
on YouTube, and my channel is my own name, which is James Bruton, and you can also find me on other social media, and the handle is at xrobotsuk.
Very cool. And what about you, Max? Where can we find you?
On YouTube, of course, Max Maker on YouTube with the green logo, and on Instagram, Max_Maker_YT, I think it is. Yeah, I post some updates there as well.
Awesome. Well,
Thanks for. Jeremy, how's it going?
myself, you can find me at on Twitter at Jeremy S. Cook. I post there a lot more than Max does. And then on YouTube, I'm just Jeremy Cook. So check me out there. I make all kinds of stuff like everybody, like the other two people here. So, well, thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks, James, for being our guest. It was really good to talk to you. We've been watching your videos for a few years, and actually getting to ask you some questions, that's really nice.
Okay, thanks for having me on.
All right. Take it easy.
Thanks. Bye-bye.